成長かユナイテッドエンパイア。今日は試合があった。そして彼がエンパイアの応援してくれるんですよ。みんな、ブローキンテーブルポッドキャストよろしく。
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Broken Tables podcast. This is episode number 114 with our AEW Dynamite review. I'm your host, Jeffrey Vegas, here as always with our co-host, King Rome, the reigning, defending Broken Predictions champion. How you doing tonight, sir?
You know, Jeff, I have a question for you.
All right.
And, you know, you didn't know that I was doing this, but I just got
No, absolutely not.
Excuse me. Hold on. Sorry. So, Jeff, are you excited for 2K Games AEW Fight Forever?
No, I'm just excited for the AEW Fight Forever game, yes.
Oh, okay. Because in the Discord, you were basically saying that it was made by 2K, and then I tried to just make a simple correction, and then it turned into this whole big thing because you just don't want to take.
I'm sorry if you misunderstood, but 2K games were the only thing I could compare to because that's all you can mod. Okay.
Right. Well.
But it's fine. It's fine. You guys should definitely join our Discord if you want to be part of some absolutely hilarious conversation and some very informative conversation, to be honest, a lot of times. So hit !Discord if you'd like to join up to our server. We'd definitely appreciate it. Let's say what's up to everybody in chat here before we get going. We had Darth actually last night put in his comment there. Said, awesome episode tonight. Can't wait for the show tomorrow. Coach Nick is here. What up, Coach? We got the Coog and Natasha. Welcome.
What's up, guys?
All right. So, man, this episode, you know, I'm a huge Dr. Disrespect fan. I got my figure up on the shelf up here, and the only way that I could describe this episode was VSM, Dr. Disrespect's moniker, violence, speed, and momentum, man. This was an absolutely violent episode, and the momentum on our way to Revolution was spectacular here,
Yeah, there was a funny thing that I noticed tonight, and we'll talk about it. I wrote it in my notes for one of the later matches. But yeah, it was a very common thread and a very certain type of style tonight or last night that was just a really awesome show. It led to some excellent matches. And yeah, it was great. Great episode of Dynamite.
Yeah, I thought it was great, man, from beginning to end. So let's go ahead and get started here. We right off the bat had Jon Moxley versus Hangman Adam Page. And these dudes must have fought for maybe 5 minutes before the bell even rang. They were fighting outside the ring. Moxley met Hangman on the rampway there, and they just started brawling all over the arena. They basically refused to get in the ring. The ref was telling them for a good, like I said, about 5 minutes to get in the ring, but to no avail. They finally get in the ring, and we get a really, really, really good match. I think this was the best of the three. I gotta know, do you think this was the best of the three matches?
Oh man,
it's so tough, isn't it?
It's definitely a tie between this and the main event.
I meant of the three Moxley versus Hangman matches, like of the.
Oh, I think you meant the three matches that were like really good tonight.
No. between Moxley and Hangman, this is their third match. I think this was their best one.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coach says these two have something very special together in the ring. Give me a 60-minute. Oh, yeah. Give me that 60-minute Iron Man match or something like that. Oof. But wait, isn't MJF already doing that? Yeah, we can't do that.
They're already doing that. We might not get that there.
Yeah, we can't do that.
And Coach Nick actually mentioned this. I had it in my notes, is that Mox was accompanied by his dad, which was really cool because they're, them being from Ohio.
Well, the funny part I was going to mention about that, when they said Moxley, here with his dad, all I could see in the shot was Wheeler Yuta at that moment. And I was like, I tilted my head to the side like a dog that heard a whistle. I was like, what? And then you see him coming behind him. I was like, oh, okay. Now it makes sense. And that definitely made me start questioning my my prediction to win that match. I definitely thought Hangman was going to win that, you know what I mean? But once I saw his dad coming down with him and he was coming down from the steps, I was like, maybe Hangman's not such a shoo-in to win this one.
Yeah, no, I mean, we talked about it last week. I wasn't sure where we were going with it. Now we have a little bit of a better idea. But yeah, this was just a hell of a fight, man. It was so good. They fought all around the ring, and then they finally got in the ring. And during the match, you can't help but look at it and just like, man, Hangman is on the same level as Jon Moxley.
Oh yeah,
and it's great.
And Hangman realized the crowd was booing him when he was coming down the ramp. And he just started mean mugging everybody in the crowd, just looking at him like, how dare you people, boo me. I just love the way he played into it. It was great. He's learning.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if it's that necessarily. I mean, the way they put it on commentary was really smart, because it's like everyone has a home game. You know what I mean? Like Hangman, he's extremely popular, but today he's the away team, and that's just what it's going to be. And that's a great way to explain it.
And that's a good thing that happens in AEW. You know what I mean? Like when guys like MGF that have nuclear heat in one town go back to their hometown, they get cheered. So it's really cool to see just once in a while that difference in the crowd.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Coach says, who saw all the versions of Mick Foley in the front row? Yeah, I only saw the one version. The other guy just kind of had the flannel shirt on, but the one guy was definitely like full blown Mick Foley. That was pretty good. So this was the match that made me notice that Mox is doing the RKO or the cutter, whatever you want to call it, all the time now. I believe in every match. So it looks like he's added this move to his moveset, That's pretty cool to see. I'm glad I like the RKO. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, something I want
to
point out. Oops, sorry, go ahead.
I'll just say you go ahead.
So something that I really enjoyed in this match, and I really kind of wanted to highlight it. Obviously, the match itself was just brutal and it was great. But there was towards the end, like the end sequence was just it looked so good. It started with a near fall from Hangman when he does his dead eye. And it was probably, in my opinion, like the best dead eye he's ever done. I don't know if it's just the way that Mox kind of landed it, or like just the velocity in which he wrapped him around and like took him down, Hangman. But
yeah,
I was like, damn, that dead eye looked like it fucked him up.
Yeah, the camera angle was perfect. The production has just gone up tremendously.
Yeah.
We got a great shout out to the podcast here with Hangman with a pop-up power bomb through the timekeeper's table. That was great. That dead eye, man, that thing looked amazing, but Mox did kick out of that and came back with the massive lariat, his King Kong lariat. That thing looked like it was going to knock Hangman out again, man. He hit him like right across the face with it.
Yeah. I mean, it was a brutal match. Like these guys were just going back and forth, a complete slugfest.
The small package driver, I don't even think I had seen that before. That was nasty. Hangman hits a tombstone pile driver and a buckshot lariat to follow it up, and we get a kick out at 2.9 by Mox. Like, my God, man, what else could these guys have done? This was almost a pay-per-view match,
Yeah, it was like a step away from it. It got really close.
Yeah. And, Mox is all busted open. What match is he not busted open in? And he gets this crazy, most devastating move in all of sports entertainment. He gets a roll up and stacks Hangman up to where he can't wiggle his way out. And he gets the 1, 2, 3. And, the crowd was happy. I was happy. I was like, wow, what an awesome finish, all of that stuff. But the two guys, they did not look happy that the finish came with a weak, roll up pin by Moxley. They looked like they still wanted to go again. So I feel like we're going to get number 4 at Revolution. We got to.
So, and this is what I really loved about the storytelling of this match, and especially the ending of this match, was Hangman took Mox to his limit, and in a moment of desperation, Mox, his survival instinct kicked in, and he goes for this roll up. Which again, there's nothing wrong with a roll up as long as you're doing it at the right time when it makes sense. It makes sense for Hangman, or I'm sorry, for Mox, who is at the end of his rope. You know what I mean? Like these guys just had a knockout, drag down match, and it was amazing. When Mox is running on fumes, he goes for that roll up and he gets the win. And afterwards, once the adrenaline kind of kicks back in, yeah, they're both unhappy with the finish because they both want to keep fighting, including Mox. Mox was getting choked out, so he went for the pin. He got the pin, but he's not satisfied with the end of the match. And yeah, I mean, I think we're leading towards a 4th match. However, I'm starting to see the glimpses of something that could be truly beautiful. And I just think that we should really appreciate what very well be a very nice summer.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite, with Hangman joining the Elite back.
Okay.
I mean, you just got to look at it. I mean, Hangman's clearly got the numbers against him. I think once Danielson wraps up with MJF in March, I just think I don't know. I could see it all kind of connecting, and there's a lot of matches there you can do. Obviously, you can have Danielson and Omega again. You can have Hangman and Claudio. Like there's a lot of possibilities there. You can do obviously the trios titles. You can have Yuta versus Omega. Like that would be a cool match to see. That would be fun. The Bucks versus Danielson and Mox. Like there's just a lot of really awesome matches you can do with that. And I think I think that's the way they're going, and I hope it is.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, but I think we're gonna see. Natasha nailed it in chat here. I think we're gonna see a best of 5 series between these two. It really seems like Tony is absolutely loving these best of type series, and I'm not opposed to how fast we've gotten them. The best of 7 series happened real quick, like boom, 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 boom. I loved it. We've already gotten 3 matches between Hangman and Mox here, and I'm all for the 4th one. So, I used to think like, oh, the same people wrestling each other all the time, blah, blah, blah. But the way that it's being done is actually working really well.
So I'm not opposed to a best of 5, but the reason I think that won't be the case of exactly what happens is that Tony doesn't like to overdo anything. We just got done this best of 7 series like 3
True.
weeks ago. Again, not an issue with it happening. I just don't think Tony would do it this soon.
Well, you could be right. Maybe the 5 would be the Blackpool Combat Club versus, you know what I mean? So we'll get the 4th match as a singles match, but then maybe the 5th one happens to be the 3-on-3, like you were talking.
Well, at that point, that's not a best of 5 series. It's just a rivalry.
Yeah. I'm just, you definitely changed my mind a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But yeah.
I got you.
This was a great match. Moxley wins. Hangman's all pissed off. He looks like he can still go. So, we'll have to wait and see where this goes. I'm definitely interested to see where this goes. Next up, we had Darby Allin with a promo on Samoa Joe and the final chapter in these two, for the TNT title. This will be their 3rd match. And we'll get to that one later. This was a pretty good little video package, did what it needed to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Next up, we go backstage, and we had an interesting attack backstage. We had Tony Storm attacking Britt Baker. I didn't write it down. Who was getting interviewed first before Tony Storm started attacking Britt Baker there?
What was it?
Who was being interviewed there? They started interviewing someone.
Oh, it was it was the Bunny and Jamie Hayter.
That's what it was. It was the Bunny and Jamie Hayter, yeah.
Yeah, so basically the Bunny challenges Jamie Hayter to an eliminator match next week. And if she wins, it's an eliminator match. She'll get a title shot.
What do you think of all these eliminator matches? Because, we both used to complain about, champions having matches against people that aren't for the title. What do you think of all these? They've been happening a lot lately.
I don't think I complained about it.
Well,
Excuse me.
I definitely did
I know you
about
have.
the
I know you
E,
have.
because they were doing
Um,
it week in and week out.
I think eliminator matches are okay. I mean, I think it's obviously you need to make sure you have a long going feud. Like Tony Khan doesn't like to just do the same matches over and over again, and also we have a larger story to tell here. So for what we don't know what the plan is next week. I mean, it could just be this match could be a setup for in the grand scheme of things of the storyline. This could just be a setup to have, I don't know, Saraya and Tony Storm come out and attack Jamie next week. You know what I mean? Like we
Okay.
don't know what the whole point of this is. We just might need to get Jamie Hayter in the ring. Like that might just be the point of everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Having these eliminator matches, it works. And as long as you're being careful and conscious, like I wouldn't even say it's bad to even do a lot of them. I mean, it's just you're just having your champion wrestle matches on TV, and like a non-title match should always be considered an eliminator match if it's a singles match. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's just calling an eliminator match like it's okay to do because it makes the stakes clear. Like if you beat the champion, you should be in line to get a title shot. Like that's just the way it should work. Um, so yeah, I mean, could they just not call it eliminator match? Sure, but I mean the logic of it still checks out and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I like what Natasha said. Want to see the champions every week, but it doesn't need to be for the title every week. So yeah, I agree with that. Um, Coog says absolutely love this big women's storyline. I'm still guessing the final two teams. Oh man, yeah. Me and Purple off pod. We were just sitting there building the two teams the other night. It was actually pretty funny. Um, we should do that one night. Like we should actually get serious about it and build our two women's blood and guts teams.
Well, that was the thing because like I'll talk about it later, but like I don't want to do it to myself. But
No, well,
I
let's let it simmer for a little bit. Let's give the story a little bit more time and to where we're like, okay, this is definitely where they're going. And then let's maybe do we'll do something on it.
yeah, I got you.
All right. Next up was the Acclaimed. And you're going to need to help me here. I missed these dudes' names, but they looked absolutely hilarious.
Their names were Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum.
Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum. Some of the best names in wrestling today.
This was the hilarious rap followed by an absolutely hilarious squash match. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, these two guys, man, when I saw them, like Coach said it earlier, they looked like they could be Dr. Disrespect's son or something. That shit was hilarious, man. I saw these guys and I was just laughing the moment I saw them. So I really hope we see these guys on Dark become like a little bit of a comic act, you know what I mean? Just get them beat up by House of Black and other dudes or whatever. These guys were hilarious. um, Taz. So in the middle of this match, we got Daddy Ass, we got Anthony Bowens and Max Caster about to do their three-way scissor. And if you weren't aware, this was in Dayton, Ohio, at the Nutter Center.
Mm-hmm.
And Taz had been waiting 3 weeks for this line. The three-way scissor party in the Nutter Center. Dude, I lost it. I was laughing so hard I couldn't write any more notes, and I missed the entire ending of the match. Can you walk what happened?
Yeah, so the beautiful thing about commentary, and I don't want to say it's gotten better since JR has kind of taken a back seat, because obviously JR has his strengths, and there's a lot of things that JR does very well. But something that I have absolutely loved since JR has stepped down is we're starting to see, and it's starting to like kind of like creep in weekly, week in and week out. We're starting to see the AEW Dark show commentary of Taz and Excalibur. Like their conversations that they're having on Dark, which is like legitimately you can watch Dark as a podcast. Like you can just do that. The commentary is that good.
Yeah.
We're starting to see it on Dynamite, and like I don't know if it's I don't know if it's just because now like there's not a strong lead with JR there kind of leading the group. And so like they're all kind of leading each other. They're working together. I don't know if Tony's like, hey, you guys have struck gold on Dark. You guys need to keep it going. Like I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it's working. And
Yeah.
I think right now this team of Shivani, Taz, and Excalibur is just like they've struck gold. Like obviously, I'll take JR any day of the week calling any match. Absolutely. But man, like this is a good squad right here that they have.
Yeah. I want JR on special occasions. It makes it feel special, I guess.
He's been doing Rampage. He's been doing Rampage, and I think that works. I think that's good for a few reasons. I mean, obviously he's getting a little bit older. There are times where they might want to correct something that he says by accident, and Rampage not being live gives him the opportunity to do that. So
Yeah.
I think Rampage is
You
a
know,
great spot for him because it gives people that like JR a reason to want to tune into Rampage because JR is on the show. It gives them an opportunity to possibly fix his commentary if needed. I mean, I just, ooh, excuse me, I think it works really well.
yeah, absolutely. And Coach in the chat says, Taz is my favorite. I wrote down after the three-way scissor party in the Nutter Center, I wrote, Taz is my hero. He is a national treasure.
You know, the other day I was actually on Twitter and I saw Taz say that he hates when people use the word banger to describe a wrestling match.
Really?
And I was like, damn, I can't say banger.
Aw.
I
I say
can't do
that
it.
shit all the time.
If Taz says you can't say banger, I'm not going to say banger anymore. It's just the way it
When did
is.
he say that?
It was like a week ago.
I think it was because the freaking Banger Bros ruined it, man.
No, it wasn't that. He didn't say it in response to them. He was just like, he was just tweeting about fans and how they react to wrestling match. He's like, there's nothing wrong with liking or not liking a wrestling match, but I can't stand when people use the word banger to describe a good wrestling match. You can say it's incredible, excellent, awesome, anything. Just don't say banger. And I was like, all right, Taz, you win. I'm not doing it.
No, that has to he has to hate Sheamus because that's what Sheamus says. He goes banger after banger after banger. I'm like, oh,
I don't know. I'm just telling you, Taz doesn't like it. So if
all
Taz,
right. I'm gonna have to I'll try to stop myself, but that's like one of the top words in my vocabulary, man. Fuck. So what happened with the finish in this? I was still laughing too hard.
so again, this was a squash, just in
Oh,
and
it's just
out.
a squash. Yeah.
They basically after the two guys they scissor themselves. They basically step in and they just hit the finishers, call it a day, 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
And then we get the Gun Club come out.
Yep.
And they're kind of egging Billy on. And then they start arguing with each other, all four of them. And Billy's like, I've had it with this, I'm done. And as they're walking away, they're trying to get his attention. And they say, why don't you go drown your sorrows like you always did in the bottom of a pill bottle? And I was like, oh, fuck. Jesus. Um, Billy comes back to the ring and accepts the challenge that the Gun Clubs had laid down to the Acclaim for the tag titles. It's on for next week. And I just want to say, I want to get out in front of it. This seems like a fucking setup.
Oh, absolutely.
This seems like
But
such a
dude,
setup.
when Billy walked back to the ring, and I think it was Austin. I still get these two confused. The shorter one.
Yeah.
He couldn't even look his dad in the face. And he was like, you said it, now look at me. Dude, I was like, holy shit. That felt real. It really actually felt real for a moment
Oh,
there.
yeah. Again, like, that was really, really good. Like, it was a really good line, which is going to make it all the more disappointing when it ends up kind of being a swerve. And I don't know. See, I don't know how I feel because I think the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn are so over. And I just, obviously, in wrestling, nothing can go on forever. Eventually, you got to break off every act. Like, that's just kind of, well, that's actually not true. That's how WWE has us brainwashed to think. You could have, like, you know what I mean? Like, the Young Bucks are never breaking up. They've been a tag team their whole careers, and they're still going strong. But,
Yeah.
like, I don't like you don't need to break up a hot act. And also, even if you were going to break up this hot act, I don't know if it's time to do it. Um, but like just yeah, like me
No.
watching this, I was like, this seems like a setup where Billy's gonna screw the Acclaimed and the Gun Club are gonna win the titles next week. Like
Yeah, and
that's what's screaming at me.
when you said I wanted to jump out ahead of it, so that's actually what I think AEW is doing here. This act with Billy is going to get old, right? How long that's going to be,
No.
we don't know.
I disagree. I don't think it's just like DX didn't get old. Oh, well, I mean, some parts of it did, but like the actual group, the gimmick itself never got old. Like
And
I don't know. I just think that the Acclaimed are legitimately the most popular over thing in the company. They again, like I'm going to continue to compare them to D-Generation X because that's kind of the closest comparison I can draw from in wrestling.
yeah.
And you see it every week. The signs, the t-shirts, the fans, like the moments, the movement. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
the new DX. This is the new Suck It. Like this is
Yep.
like it's
But
so over. And I don't know. I don't know if I agree with them breaking up the group at this point.
so would you still, or I don't know if you agreed with me then, I can't remember. Would you agree with me that the Acclaimed are so over that they don't need the belts?
They don't need the belts, but I would say keep the belts on them to elevate the belts. It's not about the belts elevating them, it's about them elevating the belts. It's like you want to continue to have prestigious titles, which AEW
Yeah.
does a very good job with, and the tag
Yeah.
titles are a very good indication of that. If you look through the history of the belts, I would argue that the tag titles, well, maybe not more than the world title, but the tag titles are very prestigious. Like when a team wins them, they're usually a very good tag team and they hold them for a while. I think the shortest reign would be Swerve and Our Glory. Like they were the shortest
Yeah.
reign, about like 2 or 3
So,
months.
and that's where I believe that I think the tag titles are already held up pretty high, and I think they've already done a great job of doing that. So I think you're actually right here. Your fears, I think, are gonna come true, man. I think we put the belts on the Gun Club because, like Natasha said, the Gun Club needs Daddy Ass more than the Acclaim do now. But I do think that they take them back at Revolution. I think it's gonna be like a quick, they win them on a Dynamite type thing, and
Well,
Acclaim go get them back at Revolution.
here's my thing. I don't have a problem with the Acclaim necessarily dropping the belts because again, I'm not saying that the Acclaim need the belts. My thing is more so this is like this angle, this match. It just really seems like Billy's going to turn on the Acclaimed here. That's where I draw an issue with. I don't think that they should separate Billy and the Acclaimed. Like it makes sense for you to make the guns the way the guns help to make you. Like they've been busting their ass. The guns have been killing it. They've been doing great work. So like and you need more heel tag teams, credible heel tag
Yeah.
teams. So I think
And
having the guns win the titles from the Acclaimed in the long run, it makes sense, and I don't have a problem with it. Again, it's more so breaking up the hot act that is the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn.
yeah, they're doing such a good job with this story right now. That's all I could say because it's I could talk about this. I could literally talk about this for like another 30 minutes. All right, but I will not do that. So let's move on to I was just about to say an absolute banger, but um an amazing match between Konosuke Takeshita and Brian Cage, who I don't actually have it next to me, but the wife just gave me my Valentine's Day present early, and it was the entire new set, which was like Thunder Rosa, Brian Cage, Eddie Kingston, whole bunch more. So that was awesome. Thank you, baby. But dude, this match with Takeshita and Brian Cage, man, I only have one small problem with it, but we'll get to that at the end. I love Takeshita so much. He's probably my favorite, like I keep saying, him and a couple of other guys are just like my favorite things that came out of nowhere from AEW, and it's great, man. It's just great.
Yeah, I mean Konosuke Takeshita, he's a star in the making. I mean, he's still young. Um, and yeah, I mean the future definitely looks bright for him. We'll have to see how long he's going to be around AEW. I mean, obviously he's signed, but you never know. I mean, he could go back to Japan once he's ready. You never know. But
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
this is an excellent match. And so in my notes, I was thinking about something after this match because it was a great match. There is a telltale way to expose someone, right? And when I say expose someone, I mean expose someone who is critical of AEW but does not watch AEW. What I mean by that is, so I'm not going to drop names. It is what it is. But I was in the Discord, and someone in the Discord was kind of like critiquing AEW in a way, saying that like, well, I just don't think the wrestlers there are very safe. Everyone's always doing the same high risk, high flying, flying around botch mania matches. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, and it made me reflect on like the big critique of AEW from Fed fans, where it's like, oh, it's just flippy shit. And I'm like, I'm watching this episode of Dynamite, and I'm like, where is said flippy shit? Like, this is another match where it's just a fucking complete just slugfest. Excellent wrestling match with great storytelling, just hard hitting action. Um, and I just think that again, the thought process was the AEW has so much variety, and that if you can sit there and try to make a claim that like, oh well, they just do flippy shit with no storytelling, like you have exposed yourself as someone that just does not watch the product and just dislikes the product because it is not World Wrestling Entertainment.
Yeah, so for me, this match was slightly overshadowed by the one little small problem that I have.
Okay.
And it's Brian Cage is an absolute monster.
Mm.
And he's a title holder. He
Okay.
comes down to the ring with a belt around his waist. And man, does this guy lose a lot. You know what I mean? It's weird to see a guy come down to the ring with a belt around his waist and constantly lose.
So I'll disagree with you, but I'll also play devil's advocate on this.
I mean, Chad agrees with me. I already seen like 3 comments that said what I was gonna say before I said it. I was like, oh man.
So, well, okay, so hear me out. So, point number one is he has not lost. He has won matches on TV. Like, yes, he has lost
Yeah, he has, yeah.
matches, but he's won matches on TV as well. I mean, he literally won the championship like a month or two ago.
Yep.
So I mean, that's one. Just going back last week, he beat Willie Mack on Rampage. Like I get it, I do understand it. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not a top guy for them, and like that's just kind of what it is. My second point of 3 points is that he is part of a trios tag team championship.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand the point, but I mean, how many singles matches did Cash Wheeler lose while they are all holding titles?
True. Very true.
Okay? Like, I understand it. It doesn't mean Cash is bad. It doesn't mean Brian Cage is bad. That's just not in the booking sense. That's not, it's kind of like a win-win because you can say, oh, Konosuke Takeshita beat a champion. But you don't have to kind of do the mental gymnastics to be like, oh, well, he's a champion, so he can't really lose a non-title match unless that's the plan moving forward. So that's why you see guys like Brian Cage in these spots. Brian Cage is a beast. He comes off as a beast. He's a credible fighter in the kayfabe, and they give him wins to rack up. So when they go and they feed him to say a Bryan Danielson, or in this case a Konosuke Takeshita, who they're clearly leading up to Takeshita and MJF. They're having a match next week. Like you need Takeshita to look strong. So what better person to look strong than beat someone like Brian Cage? At the end of the day, I don't want to be this guy. It's fake fighting. Okay, like I know it's more than that to all of us. I'm not saying it is, but you got to look at the ebbs and flows of it. Like if you look at Brian Cage's win-loss record, he is winning matches. He is a champion. But at the same time, they need to get MJF ready or Konosuke ready for MJF. They need to do these things. It's why they would throw Dax and Cash. Dax lost a lot of singles matches too. That doesn't mean that Dax and Cash weren't one of the best tag teams, if not the best tag team last year. It's just the way.
And he did beat Willie Mack twice back to back. I kind of forgot about those.
Exactly. I know you forgot. That's why I'm here. And then my third point is he is an ROH champion, which they've made it clear, like it is a separate entity. It's like it's not developmental, but it's going to be kind of developmentally. So it's like
Yeah. And actually that last Willie Mack match was on Dynamite, wasn't it? So that was like on a major episode that everybody got to see. They got to see Cage win. All right, I get it, but
the Kook said it best. Folks, the Kook said it best in the chat. He's been watching this sport for almost 5 decades. Everybody wins, everybody loses. And
it makes sense.
Yeah, he's got a 71% win rating, but like 20% is the wins on Dynamite.
I think
critique here,
it makes sense. Yeah,
everybody's got their spot on the roster. Like, for example, Serpentico has his spot on the roster. You absolutely need Serpentico in AEW. He's not like a world beater. He's not but he has his role to fill. QT Marshall, has his role to fill. Like all of these guys, Matt Sydal has a role to fill in the roster.
No, he did, Coach. He beat Willie Mack on Dynamite. He did, and it was a great match. I think it was either 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago.
It was 2 Fridays ago.
Yeah. Oh, you say it was on Rampage?
It was on Rampage.
I thought it was on Dynamite. But all right, yeah. Either way, yeah. There was one on TV, but still, though, I don't want to see the guys with the belts lose so much. The Bucks. That was a decent one against Top Flight. Gave them a reason to have the trios match. I get it. It's just I don't know.
Again, just remember, it's out of division. It's not a trio match. He is a trios champion. Like that's the way you got to get into that mindset where it's every division has a different like. If you pin a trios champion in a singles match, you're not in line for a trios title shot. That's why they do that. It's why Dax and Cash, they would do like Dax versus CM Punk, Cash versus Jungle Boy Jack. Oh, it was Dax versus Jack Perry. Cash faced John Moxley the one week. Like they're champions, but they're not in the same. It's not a division match, if that makes sense. So it's okay to do that.
Didn't Serpentico get his first win the other day, Coog? I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Not his first win, but he did get a win the other day. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean he's on like a crazy losing streak.
He was, but no, I think it's broken.
Yeah, I think he broke it.
Yeah, I think he did.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and finish up this one here. So Takeshita wins a great match here. Hits him with the flying knee, of course, gets the 1, 2, 3. Loved it. Next up, we had the Jericho Appreciation Society with Renee Paquette in the back doing an interview. Basically saying that Ricky Starks, if he wants another match with Jericho, he's going to have to go through the Garcia Guevara gauntlet. That means he's going to have to beat both of 2.0. He's going to have to beat Angelo and Daddy Magic, and then he's going to have to beat Garcia and then Guevara. And if he wins all those, he goes up against Jericho.
No, so he has to face each of 2.0.
Yeah.
And then it's either one or the other, Garcia.
Oh, it's one or the other?
Yeah, but the trick is that they won't tell him until right before.
Oh, okay. Now, do you think this is going to be one of those gauntlets like back to back to back in one night, or he's going to have to do it like one match each week like Danielson's been doing?
Based off the card for next week, I'm not actually sure, but it could be a traditional gauntlet match.
Yeah, I hope it's a traditional one where he has to go through everybody in one night and then, maybe gets Jericho at Revolution or something, but I'd like to see everybody in one night, even Jericho.
I don't think he'll get Jericho next week. I mean, because Jericho's on his cruise actually right now.
Man, Coach has been on one lately. I don't know what's going on, Coach, but I've been loving what's going on lately, man. So the next up, we had the Elite cutting their promo, basically accepting a match with Top Flight and AR Fox. They were in like a high school basketball gym, and it was pretty cool. Nick shot a nice 3-pointer at the end of their promo. I wonder how many times they had to film that before he actually made it. I hope he got it on the first try. That would be cool.
I was actually going to ask, do you think that he actually does make it? Because they always say it. Like, he takes the shot, and they're like, that was the first shot, by the way. Like,
yeah, I'm not sure if he did that on the first try, but I would imagine he can because he's decent at basketball. You know what I'm saying?
Part of me believes it, though, because it's like, do you really think that they go and they do that whole, like, first 35? I guess so. Like, they do a whole 40 seconds of promo before he takes the shot. It's like,
yeah.
Oh, he missed the shot. All right, do the whole 40 seconds again until he makes his goddamn shot. Oh, all right.
No, I agree with you, Coach, but it doesn't bother me. That's all I'm saying. Like, I'm not obsessed. I'm not upset by those storylines. I enjoy those storylines, actually.
Oh, Coach Nick is accusing Jeff of being flip-flop Jeff, saying this morning in the Discord.
I agree with you that those same storylines are being used with different people, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I guess we'll just touch back on it real quick.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with what the Jericho Appreciation Society is doing right now, although I will admit I'm not like super into the storyline at the moment. I do kind of want to just get to the next point of it. It's not that like I enjoy the promos and the matches aren't bad. But I mean, I'll kind of give Coach this nod. I wouldn't say nap time, but I would like to see it move forward. And hopefully we are getting ready to move forward. So
Yeah, I definitely agree as well with Natasha saying that the whole Garcia thing, when that didn't come to fruition with Danielson, it was kind of like, what was that all about? You know?
yeah, I agree with that. I do agree. I think that them
Yeah.
doing that swerve, like it was fine, but now it's like, okay, like maybe it wasn't the right decision to do the swerve. Maybe you should have just had Garcia leave
Yeah.
because
Well, it really felt like they just changed their minds at the last minute. You know, like that seemed like that's where we were going, and all of a sudden they were like, you know what? Let's not. I don't know.
I don't know.
But anyway, so with this elite promo, Stokely Hathaway, Matt Hardy, and Isaiah show up. Don Callis wants to make an NFT of a one-winged angel on Matt Hardy, so they accept the match, and this was decent. I liked the whole basketball setting. I liked it. It was kind of a very different change of scenery, you know.
I liked that they had like an elite basketball.
Did they? I didn't even pay attention. Did it say
Yeah,
elite on it?
the elite one. It was really
Oh,
cool.
that's sweet.
No, I thought this was a really cool segment in a unique setting. There was actually a few segments tonight that I would consider like, wow, this is kind of a memorable segment because of where they are.
Yeah.
Because it looked different. And I'll point out the other one when we get to it. But it was really cool. It was a good segment, and you got, the firm coming in again. It's just awesome to see these guys getting involved on TV after making Elevation. Like these guys really kind of were like the first ones to be like, hey, Elevation should have story. Like I mean, right now Athena's got a storyline going. There's other storylines going, but they were the first ones. And Coach just said it.
Oh,
But like, I'm not like, look, I like the humor. That kind of humor can be kind of hit or miss for me. But when Isaiah got up in Kenny's ear and he does the moan, I lost it. I was fucking dying.
dude. Isaiah puts his arm around Kenny, gets right up in his ear.
Oh
And
no,
I don't, what did he say before he did the moan? What did he say? Like, we're ready or something?
like you're gonna be hearing this tomorrow, next week, or well, I don't even remember what it was. I really don't remember.
And he just hits him with the,
meanwhile, Matt's in the background. Matt's in the background, like, what are you doing?
I was dying, dude. The look on Kenny's face, Kenny looked like, I don't even know what that look was, but it was absolutely fantastic. I loved that. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, next up we got Bryan Danielson versus Timothy Thatcher. And man, I know I was hyping up Timothy Thatcher last week and he did not disappoint. He absolutely tortured Danielson for like 10 straight minutes. Thatcher's selling is amazing. Like every time Danielson would give him a chop or a kick, like both arms go flying all over the place. This was like one of the perfect guys for Danielson to wrestle with this shoulder, storyline shoulder injury.
Yeah, man. I mean, Danielson is currently on a run showing why he's the greatest wrestler alive. I
You can
mean,
clip that, coach. Go ahead.
but excuse me. Um,
Useless Timmy. He just looks like he took a hockey puck to the face, man. He's got like one tooth that's like 3/4 of it, you know?
oh yeah, definitely. But yeah, no, this is another just great match in this line that Danielson's having. Um, and we're gonna keep going. I mean, we still have another month to go until Revolution.
Yeah, absolutely. So at one point, while these two are, scrambling with their technical wrestling skills here, they both wind up smashing the ref up in the corner. And this signals for MJF to start making his way out with the Dynamite Diamond Ring. But as MJF is sneakily making his way down the ramp, we see somebody attack him from behind, and it winds up being Takeshita. And Takeshita whoops MJF's ass all the way to the back. And we get the finish with the Busaiku knee from Danielson. But at what cost to Danielson's arm? Because this dude just absolutely annihilated Danielson's shoulder this entire match. His arm, his shoulder, whatever. This match was brutal, hard hitting. Yeah, I mean, just oof.
Yeah, just can't wait for next week.
Yep. And then they cut to MJF and Takeshita backstage, still brawling in the back. We get security to come break it up. And Renee Paquette shows up to announce that Tony Khan has decreed Takeshita versus MJF next week on Dynamite. And man, I can't wait for this. I have a feeling we're going to get some sort of a shit finish, obviously.
I don't think
But
so.
well, I mean, there's going to be a pin, but something is going to happen here. I don't think we're just going to get a clean MJF win. But we'll see.
No, I really like this backstage brawl.
Oh yeah.
Even though it was brief. Again, the setting was different looking, which makes it memorable. Which obviously that's just, oh well, they're just in a different building, and I understand that, but I don't know. For me, I remember things like that, like just seeing like it looks different, so you remember it. But just having Takeshita kind of brush arms with MJF, that just helps Takeshita stock so much. And next week he's going to face MJF, and I think it's going to be a really, really good match.
Yeah, I do too. I can't wait to see what happens in that. All right. Next up, we had a really nice swerve promo on Dustin. He tied this whole story together of why he hates the Road family and stuff like that.
I tell you, same. Apart, I mean, not really Dustin, and not really Dusty either, but like every other member of the Rhodes family, like just and not even the ones that don't wrestle. You know what I mean? So take all the ones that don't wrestle out of the equation as well. Like everyone left in that pool that I've eliminated some of the Rhodes that I don't have issues with. Everyone that's left, the ones that wrestle that aren't Dustin or Dusty, fuck them. Can't stand them.
So Swerve ties this whole story together of why he doesn't like the family. And it turns out that Dusty was the one that gave the moniker of Limitless to Keith Lee. So, there we go. I was kind of wondering why he wanted to interrupt Dustin last week. And here we go. It actually makes 100% perfect sense. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, dude, this is great. I love it. How did they let Swerve walk? Bro, we could say that about like
We
8
say it
dudes.
every week, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a great segment, and I liked how Swerve was like, I'm gonna go after some other second generation kids. Like these goddamn wrestlers who think that they're entitled stuff because their daddies did stuff. You know what I mean? Like just a great promo from Swerve. So he's going after Brian Pillman Jr. on Rampage. We also get to learn that the tattoo man, his name is Trench.
Yeah, Trench.
Yeah.
I like how they were like, I don't know if we've ever heard of anyone named Trench before. Pretty good. So next up we had a really interesting backstage promo here with Roosh and MJF. I was absolutely dying about the personal space thing where Roosh stepped all close to MJF and MJF was like, Daddy has a little thing about personal space, so I'm going to step back, and he steps back like one step. That was freaking hilarious. I was dying. But this was absolutely fantastic here. MJF hands over a large briefcase of cash and essentially says, you're facing Danielson next week and I want him taken out. And Roosh cuts a really lengthy promo on MJF in straight up Spanish. And MJF says, translate dipshit. And you could audibly hear the crowd laughing. That was freaking awesome right there. I absolutely loved that part right there. And did you read the Discord when this went on? I know you were probably trying to avoid Discord.
Yeah, no, I did see it the next day. But I love how obviously Roosh said more than that.
Yeah.
But Jose's like, he accepts. And MJF's
Yeah.
like, there's a lot more to it than that. So a few things. I also really loved how when MJF walks in, he basically is like, my Spanish is how you say mid. So,
Yeah.
that was great. And oh my god. So I love this segment. I really love this segment. The setting was great. Everyone involved was just like it was really well done, really well performed, really well put together. From a storyline perspective, I absolutely fucking love that all of these heels whether it's Brian Cage a few weeks ago, whether it, whoever it is, and now you got Roosh. Like, these heels do not like MJF.
He's making a lot of enemies, isn't he?
But he's not even out making enemies. He already has these enemies. No one trusts MJF. None of the heels trust MJF because they know it's MJF, but they're heels. They want the money. And I think that this is a really kind of awesome thing to do because usually, in past years, in my experience, when you have like a heel who's trying to pay off other heels, they're just kind of like, okay, I'm a heel, so we can work together because we're both heels. Where it's like, no, like these characters, they're all heels, but they still fucking hate each other. He's like they're like, I'm a bad guy, I'm a heel, so I will break Bryan Danielson's arm for that suitcase of money, but I still don't like you, MJF. And I think that that's just very fascinating storytelling, and it's so multifaceted. And again, that's when I really start to love the storytelling, when you can come at it from different angles, different levels to it.
Yeah,
I loved it. I love that. I love that these heels fucking hate MJF. Where it's like Brian Cage is gonna snap his leg, and Prince Nana was like,
yeah,
the money. Think of the money. And then like again this week, it was like Roosh is like, I don't fucking like you, and I'm going to beat the shit out of you someday, but I will hurt Bryan Danielson for the 5 suitcases of money you're going to give me.
Yeah, and so I loved this segment so much that I put it as, I'm gonna say this is one of my favorite segments of all time, and I have to explain why.
Okay.
So I'm gonna kind of go weirdo Jeff here. So you know how back in the day, before we had these computers in our pockets and in our hands, if you wanted to learn the answer to something, you actually had to like seek out someone who knew the answer, or you had to find a book and read and actually learn something, right? But nowadays, if you need an answer to something, you just whip out your phone and you Google it and you find out the answer, right? So there's this feeling of learning things that we almost don't get anymore as humans. And in this segment, getting to hear that entire promo by Roosh in Spanish, and we knew it was more than what the translator said, right? Jose was like, oh, he said he accepts. And even MJF was like, yo, there was way more to it than that, but whatever. I got actual gratification by going into Discord, and I know that the Coog speaks Spanish, and I was like, Coog, can you please translate that for me? And having someone translate it and me reading it, and then like going back and watching the promo again and knowing what he was saying, it made that promo so much better for me. I don't know if that makes any sense to you guys about the whole learning and, your phone thing, but it really is like, it really did help that promo a lot for me. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
I mean, I don't think having a phone or not having a phone changes the gratification you get from learning something.
Well, there's a chemical in your brain that no longer gets produced when you search things on Google and learn it instantly. It no longer, there's like a feeling of some sort of whatever that no longer happens. It's a completely different thing to need to know the answer for something for a few days and learn it than to get the answer immediately. Your brain has a completely different reaction to it. Yeah.
Oh,
it's like a study I was actually looking into.
I feel like I still get the same gratification from learning things, but I mean, that's just me. So
well, you might like feel it, but there's like, behind or subconscious type things that go on. I'll send you a link to something one day.
Okay.
But this was great. I absolutely loved it. Thanks again, Coog, for that translation. Next up, we had Red Velvet versus Jade Cargill in her 50th match, and I thought this was great. They haven't faced each other since that TBS qualifier a long time ago, before Jade even became champion. So, in a singles match anyway. I'm not sure if they were they in a, they didn't face each other. They were on a tag team, weren't they? And Red walked out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they haven't faced each other, and I think it's at least 2 years now. But this was great. I thought this was a great match. Red Velvet did great. She used to have a lot of spots in matches that were questionable, but she's cleaned all of that up. I think Red's done a great job. Another testament to this women's division just getting better and better, right?
Yeah, I thought this was a good match. Didn't blow me away. Thought it was good. Yeah, I didn't dislike it. It was kind of, it was there. It was what it was. I mean, I'm glad that Red Velvet did not beat Jade. I didn't think
Yeah.
that there was enough build up to warrant Velvet beating Jade. I don't want to say it. Like I don't want to say it, Jeff,
What?
because I told myself I wasn't going to do it. I told myself I wasn't going down that road. But like Jade can join the AEW homegrown talent if Mercedes takes the belt from her. Like it's
Yeah.
there. It's there. And
Yeah.
I was watching this match and I was like, okay, so they're not doing the 49-1. So at this point, like they're not going to have her go to 100 and like they're not going to do 99-1. Like they're not doing that.
No.
That's way too long because it took them 3 years to get to 50, you know. But so that means that like at this point, even though the streak is going to keep building and the pressure is there, they hit that round number that they wanted to. So now, theoretically, at any point she could lose. That's kind of where we're at, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But like I'm just sitting here after this match, and I'm like, could they be waiting for Statlander? Yeah, they could be waiting for Statlander. But it also just makes a lot of sense. It really does. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to do it. I didn't want to do it, but
So I like what Natasha said earlier. If we do that prediction for the 5 versus 5, we'll do like a draft type thing where you do the homegrown girls and I'll do the ex WWE girls, and we'll kind of draft who we think is going to be on the teams.
well, the problem is with that, and I don't mind doing it. My 5 on one side would dictate the other 5 on the
Well,
other
that's
side.
why we're going to do kind of a draft. You know what I mean? You go once, I'll go once, and we'll see where
Right,
it
well,
winds
I
up.
mean, I would just say we both pick both teams, but I get the point though. I do understand.
Just trying to make it fun, you know.
Oh yeah, sure, we could do that. But
I can't wait for Statlander to come back. About 3 months now, I think, is where she's at.
well, yeah, Coach Nick said she's still probably 3 to 4 months out.
Yeah, about 3 or 4. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, we'll see. I'm trying to not do it. I don't want to do it, but it just makes so much sense and everything is there. Like it's lining up to click into place so easily.
Yeah. I mean, Naomi and or Mercedes and Trinity, I guess I'll start calling her now, would make sense to both show up.
Maybe.
But yeah, so of course Jade gets the win in this one. She gets her 50-0. She gets a really awesome Jaded, or let's go back to this one spot first where she body presses Red Velvet, walks up the steps and throws her in the ring. Have we ever seen anybody do that before in men's or women's wrestling? I cannot recall ever seeing anyone walk up the steps with somebody body pressed over their head. That was incredible. Jade is absolutely incredible. So then, we do get a spot here where Kiera Hogan shows up and she casts some distraction and allows Red Velvet to hit her finisher. But while Red Velvet's going for the pin, which I counted about 5, the referee doesn't see it. She turns around and comes for the pin, and Jade kicks out. Are we supposed to think that Red had Jade pinned here? Because, I mean, that was at least like 4 or 5 seconds.
Yes, Jeff, that was the point.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you think we go from there? Obviously, Red's going to be upset with Kiera. We're maybe get Red versus Kiera. But do you think Red gets some sort of a rematch because of that? Or
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I hope not.
Maybe they do like a tag match. Maybe.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know. I could see them doing Red and Kiera versus Jade and Layla Gray. I don't know. I don't see Red getting another shot. It was a really well done spot though, because it does give Red Velvet some credit. It does give her some. It gives her some, some props that like, hey, like, obviously it's. I don't know why I'm saying it twice in one episode. It is fake fighting. But
she's gonna be able to say in her promos now, I had her pinned. Like she's gonna be able to use that,
Yeah, it helps her get over.
I'm the legitimate champion storyline. Absolutely. Okay. We'll see.
I don't know if they do that, but we'll see. Maybe it's
Yeah.
possible.
So Jade celebrates by grabbing her daughter out of the audience, who this time was was visibly upset. The daughter did not look like she enjoyed watching her mom in that match get beat up a little bit. She was crying, but you know, when she grows up, she'll understand a little bit more. I totally get it. Next up, we had Renee Paquette with Britt backstage in the medical room. Ruby Soho shows up and asks if she's all right, and Britt says, "Yeah, I'm all right." And I still have no idea which team Ruby's going to wind up on, so that's why I want to do this even more.
Britt's pushing Ruby over to the WWE girls. It's all going to be Britt's doing here.
Oh, you think Britt's going to push her over?
I mean, well, yeah, it's clearly where they're going. I mean, Ruby, again, like I said last week, they've done a really good job at telling this story where they're kind of setting it up where Ruby wants to align with the homegrown talent, and she really feels this way, but at the same time, she hates Britt Baker, and so Ruby is clearly making the attempts to be part of the team. She's trying to be there for Britt. Britt got jumped, so she's showing up and saying, "Hey, Britt, are you okay? Like, I saw what happened. Like, that's messed up. Like, are you good?" And Britt just kind of blows her off. Britt's like, "They're your friends. You've known them longer. How am I supposed to trust you? Like, I don't trust you." And that's what it's going to lead to. It's going to lead to Ruby turning on them because of Britt pushing her in that direction.
Good points. Good points. Coog says, I wonder if Jade gets thrown into that blood and guts feud. Yeah, that's what Rome was just saying. Jade would be on the AEW girls' side if maybe Mercedes came over and dethroned her.
I could see
That'd
it
be
just
so,
being like,
so
look,
good.
man, again, it just makes a lot of sense where you have Mercedes, she shows up, she beats Jade, and you know, and then here's what you do. You make it all about Mercedes. Like you Mercedes is the big deal. Mercedes is the big deal. And for the first time ever, Jade is out of the spotlight. And it's just like she's like, I was 50-0. Like, yeah, you beat me, but like just like that, like I'm kicked off out of the spotlight. Like I could just see Jade taking it that way, and then like she starts feuding with them, and she's like, these WWE girls, they want to steal the homegrown talent spotlight. We did all the work. I made that belt something, and then you just came and you happened to pick a win off me. Let alone if she cheats to win. If she does that, then he writes it even better. But
Yep.
again, I'm just saying like it just clicks in place and it makes sense. And I don't want to book it that way because after the forum or after Seattle, whichever show that was, I forget, it was the forum. I guess I wasn't doing it again, but it just makes sense. I can't help but
It
point out
just,
things that make sense.
it sounds so good. It looks so good on paper.
Part of me
Let's hope
wonders.
it goes there.
Part of me wonders if maybe New Japan. I have I have nothing to go off of here. I wonder if New Japan had like a deal with Mercedes where like your first match has to be for us.
Oh, absolutely. I think it was. I think so for sure.
Because like maybe that could, because again, like everything was aligning for Mercedes to debut at the forum, and then she just straight up didn't. So like it
I,
really kind of leads me to wonder like maybe they had the debut in place, and then New Japan was like, well, we want her first match to be with us. We paid her a lot of money,
yeah.
and I could see Tony being like, because it's Tony, he's great. I could see Tony just being like, okay, we'll make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% I can see that.
Yeah, I hope he'll probably be like, we have about 4 months until the blood and guts match. We can stretch it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But again, we'll see.
All right, next up we had the no holds barred match for the TNT Championship between Darby Allin and Samoa Joe. Holy shit, man. This match, okay, there was multiple times. Purpleness was sitting next to me. That's the wife for anyone new watching. She literally was like, okay, I can't watch this anymore. And she had to like turn away. And then 2 seconds later, she'd be turning back right back watching. And like there was multiple times this happened to her. And even with me, you know me and Thumbtacks. If any of you guys don't know, as soon as I see Thumbtacks come out, like as soon as I see the black bag, I start to squirm in my chair. And it's like an involuntary action. I don't know what it is about Thumbtacks. I've stepped on them in the past and they get to me. They get to me bad. And Darby comes out wearing a hoodie covered in thumbtacks. This might have been one of the coolest things I ever seen. And Joe just kind of looks like, yeah, whatever, you know? And the moment Darby climbs in the ring, he just sprints straight at Joe and cannonballs his ass right, right in the corner with that freaking hoodie on. I don't know if I've ever cringed so quickly at the beginning of a match, man. I was just like immediately like, ah. This match was nuts.
I also want to point out I love how smart Joe was for Joe to be like, I'm gonna take my towel, wrap it around my hand, and like punch him so that way I don't hurt myself on the thumbtacks. Like
Yes,
that was so smart.
it was great. There were so many spots in this match. Right away, Joe goes to pull a table out from under the ring, and he stands the table up, right? And while he has the table stood up, Darby does his tope suicida through the ropes and just annihilates the table. And the metal parts of the table hit Joe square in the eyebrow and split him open hard way. And this happened like immediately, right? And we all know Joe is like the Incredible Hulk. Like the more you beat him up, the angrier he gets, and like the more he like wants to hurt you. And the moment I saw Joe bleeding, I was like, oh no, Darby, you have only pissed him off. You know what I mean? Like, dude, that cut over his eye made the match so much better. And it was just a natural, I want to say accident. I don't believe that was planned. There's no way that was planned because the way that it happened was insane.
So I actually do think it was. So, okay. So I actually went back because I watched it this morning because I worked last night. And after I saw it, I actually rewinded it. I actually do think it was a planned blade because what happens is, so the table hits Joe, right? And I see Joe right after the table hits him, goes like this. Like very quickly. Like, I don't know if he's like feeling it or, excuse me, geez, or what, but I think he actually might have bladed himself there.
I don't know if you would blade your eyebrow though. Like that's not a spot that you blade, man. That was right in the corner of his eye into his nose. Like I think he turned away like, ow, that fucking hurt. And then he was wiping it to check and he was like, yep, I'm bleeding.
Maybe, I don't know. It's just the way he didn't go like this. He was like,
I did see what you saw. I did see that too. He kind of wiped it in a weird way, but I think he knew he was cut like pretty badly, and I think he didn't want to like mess with it or something. But I don't know. Either way, it was nasty. It was in a nasty spot, and it made the match 10 times better. Joe and Darby just proceed to absolutely beat the fucking crap out of each other in this match here. At one point, Joe just Dr. Phil's Darby out of the ring. Did you see that part? He just grabs him and he's just like floop over the side. Like that was nuts. There was another. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So there was another table set up outside the ring, right in front of Mick Foley, by the way. And Darby goes to do his tope suicida again onto Joe. And Joe pulls his nope spot, turns and walks away. And Darby crashes and burns through the table on the outside, man. That was gnarly. Just, I don't even, that was gnarly.
So I kind of want to go to chat real quick because there's an interesting conversation going on. And I would like to kind of get Daniel Price's take on, or some elaboration. So basically, Daniel Price is saying that Darby is a reckless bump monkey who has a death wish, could be paralyzed by he's 30. And Natasha in the chat points out what my follow-up point would be, it's not like he's the first. Jeff Hardy and Mick Foley come to mind. And he's saying, yeah, no, they're not the same. I would like to get some elaboration from Daniel Price about how they are not the same. I mean, Mick Foley literally, flew off the top of a Hell in a Cell into concrete with a simple table to protect, not a padded table, but just a table. And obviously Jeff Hardy, even Mick Foley, you could go back and look at the 30 years or whatnot.
Dude, even the spot where Foley fell through the cage, he fucking had his teeth in his mouth, dude. Come on.
Right. I think that's just a bad take. I mean, I think it just sounds like you don't like Darby Allin.
So the spot was planned. Don't get me wrong when I say that, like, the spot, it wasn't planned. So him getting cut open was not planned, but the spot of Joe holding the table and Darby flying into the table was definitely planned. I think
Sorry, go
Joe
ahead.
should have had his hands up, just like chair shots to the head. He should have had his hands up, kind of putting the table up like this, and then the table would have just pushed into him. But instead, he was just face against the bottom of the table, which obviously has metal pieces.
Right, sure, and I get that. Even though I am trying to look at the footage and say I think he might have cut himself, even if
Yeah.
it was a natural cut, like that doesn't really change anything.
No.
It At the end of the day, that's just Darby style. Like, yes, he is an adrenaline junkie, sure, but I mean, like, again, like it's pro wrestling, and
Yeah, the Joey Mercury spot was insane as well. Like, accidents
that
happen,
joke
man.
was
It's just a thing. Accidents happen on planned spots. Sorry. If you're going to call Darby a, spot monkey, whatever, but it's not like what he does is unreasonably dangerous. They're all spots that everybody knows what they're doing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, those types of takes are ridiculous over here, bro. That's not what we're about over here.
Yeah, I don't think
But
Darby's a clown just because he likes to put himself in harm's way. I mean, like, it's not safe and he needs to take care of himself, but
yeah,
I don't know. It just sounds like you just don't like the guy, which is fine. Hold on. Here we go. So he says, difference is Foley called for Taker to throw him off, and yeah, Joe willfully pulled out the table, but Darby's still a bump. That doesn't make sense. You're saying there's a difference, and then not elaborating. You're saying Foley asked to be thrown off the cage, and that doesn't make him the same as Darby Allin. Like, look, dude, you can be you just don't like Darby. You just that's fine. That's fine. If you don't like
That's
Darby, you
fine,
don't like
yeah.
Darby. You can like and you dislike whoever you want, but you at least got to be fair. Like, you can't sit here and say, well, Foley wanted Taker to throw him off. Yeah, and Darby wants to get thrown into a skateboard or the trucks of a skateboard and thrown down a concrete steps. You think Darby was like, don't throw me down the concrete steps? Which in which case would actually go against your argument about him being a bump.
And
I
listen,
don't know, bro. It's fine.
Listen, I'm fine with the whole calling him a bump monkey with a death wish, because he's literally a stuntman. He goes and does those crazy ass stunts in his cars and on his skateboard. It's like, yeah, that is what Darby is. You know what I'm saying? And we all know it, but he's not unsafe. I'll put it that way. He's not an unsafe, worker. That's where I'll go. Like,
yeah, I don't know, man. He is a stunt. He's a stunt
yeah,
man. That's what people do.
Darby's not even the one that took the bump. All Darby did was a tope into a table. You know what I mean? Like, that was Joe. That was all Joe there. I think he should have had his hands up. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that.
But either way, I loved this match. This was one of my favorite things I've seen, pretty much all year so far. Darby goes to do the coffin drop. He puts the hoodie back on. Couldn't quite get his arms through because the sleeves had come in, and it was near impossible to pull the sleeves back out with the thumbtacks in there. But wrapping it around his neck still did the job. He landed on Joe with it. Joe still kicked out. Man, Darby busts out what was that, like a box cutter type blade?
Yeah.
And he cuts all of the ropes underneath the ring holding the mat, and he exposes the wood. Every time I see someone expose the wood, it never goes well for them. And at this moment, I was like, oh my God, Joe is winning this freaking match. Now, I have no problem with Joe winning it, because I really think Joe's getting towards the end of his career here. And we can't have Darby out here trying to kill himself every week. So he does need to get his rest now and then. So I'm perfectly fine with Joe winning this match here. But some people were a little upset that Darby lost and didn't have, a super long title reign. But I like to counter that with the TNT title's not meant for long title reigns. I don't think it's meant for that.
You're correct. So it's a TV title.
Yeah.
And the point of a TV title is not to have, I mean, obviously you can have a very long, successful run as a TV champion.
Yeah.
But the point of it is that you're not doing a lot of long-standing feuds. You're not doing a lot of that stuff. It's very what you saw from Darby's reign, which was week in, week out, open challenges, bringing in people from out of the company, bringing in the mid carders, the other top stars, bringing them in to face Darby, the Ring of Honor guys to face Darby. It doesn't that's just what a TV title is. Like, it's meant to be a weekly title that is defended on TV every single week, and these reigns are not very long usually. That's
Yeah, and I thought he had a great reign. This was his 5th defense, and in those 4 matches that he had were all great, so.
Yeah, I agree. I think you could also say, I mean, honestly, if just kind of looking at it, Wardlow was hurt, so they were trying to hold off on the Wardlow Joe thing. They gave Wardlow like a month and a half off, and they were in Darby's hometown. They wanted to give him the belt. So, I mean, it's a TV title. That's what it's used for. It's to make your TV show better. So, yeah, I don't really have a problem with it. I think that everything that they needed to do, they accomplished. They gave Darby a huge win in his hometown in their first time in that market. He won a title. He beat Joe, which, again, that's huge for Darby. Like, it was better that they let Darby beat Joe than just let Joe hold it for 6 weeks. Because, again, you're all about making these young guys important. Yeah. And you have a guy like Samoa Joe. The fact that Darby Allin beat Samoa Joe, like, that's a big deal. Like, that's a huge deal. So it's better that they did it than they didn't.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest. Like, remember those video packages that Darby makes with some of his stunts in them and some of the stuff that he's done with Sting? Those video packages have been so good. I want to see Darby do some sort of acting. Like, I want to see that kid go into, some sort of like, maybe an episode of television here and there, or maybe some sort of a movie. You know what I mean? But I think he's got the acting skills for it.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to do that. I think he loves wrestling. I think wrestling is where he wants to be.
So Darby takes the L here, but in a absolutely great showing. Joe hits the muscle buster off of the middle rope to the wood and gets the 1, 2, 3. Wardlow shows up with his new haircut. I'm not a fan of this new haircut on Wardlow, only because it makes him look so much like Frankie Kazarian. I was like, what the hell? Like, it just came off very weird.
I didn't make that connection at all.
You didn't? Yeah, I just immediately I was like, he looks like a swole Frankie Kazarian. I can't unsee it. But excellent episode of Dynamite tonight. I thought from beginning to end, they brought the violence, the speed, the momentum. I'm all about that VSM. So this was a great episode. And do you have what we got lined up for Rampage?
Do. All right, so we have, let's see. We have on Rampage, we have the World Trios Championship match, the Elite versus Ethan Page, Matt Hardy, and Isaiah Cassidy. We have Swerve Strickland versus Brian Pillman Jr. And Saraya and Tony Storm will be in action. I did see a spoiler, and I know who they're facing. Would you like to know who they're facing, Jeff?
Who they're facing? Yeah.
The Renegades.
Yeah. My girls.
We also have Roosh versus Christopher Daniels on Friday.
Okay.
And then on Dynamite the next week, we have Roosh versus Bryan Danielson. We have the AEW World Tag Team Championship match, the Acclaim defending their titles against the Guns. MJF will be taking on Konosuke Takeshita in a World Championship Eliminator match. The Garcia Guevara Gauntlet is next week, which again, I'm just not sure exactly how that, I guess it's just a straight up gauntlet. Based off the card, it looks like a gauntlet. Jamie Hayter will be taking on the Bunny, also in an Eliminator match next week on Dynamite.
I love me some Jamie Hayter, man.
The best Triple H in the business.
Dude, every time she says Hayter hits hard, bro, I'm just like, oh, right in my heart. It's like she's like, just like, pew, shoots that arrow, man. What up, Forrest?
Forrest is here.
Yeah, Forrest has arrived.
7.
All right, well, do you got anything else that you want to go over from the episode last night, or anything you wanted to talk about in the world of wrestling? Maybe another lawsuit that has dropped on another horrible individual?
I mean, look, man. So WWE did their fiscal call today. I wasn't going to talk about it, but since you asked, WWE did their fiscal call, and people are kind of hanging on this one line where Nick Khan said that if the buyer of WWE does not want Vince McMahon in charge, Vince has made it very clear to the board and to the shareholders that he will step down. And my thought process here is, but Vince is the one choosing the buyer.
Yeah.
So, like Vince isn't going to choose a buyer who wants him gone. Like part of the discussion will be, so when you buy this, I can take control officially, right? And like that's the whole point. Like I don't know. It was just
That's
hilarious.
such a fun. Yeah. He's
It's
like, oh,
so-
I'll step down if they buy it and they want me to step down. And it's like, but you're choosing who buys it, so you can make sure they don't want you to step down.
That would be like, Jeff, if I was like, all right, well, the Broken Predictions champion, the rightful Broken Predictions champion, has the right now to end the podcast forever, and we stop doing the podcast forever. If I say so right now, like I'm not going to say, yeah, let's do it. Like no, it's dumb. It's just stupid. It's just really dumb stuff.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us for tonight. You want to go ahead and close us out?
Absolutely. Well, this has been episode 114 of the Broken Tables podcast. If you like the video, hit the like button and the subscribe button. And while you're at it, go check out our other videos. We have a gaming podcast on Monday nights called the Game Room Podcast, where we talk about video games. There is a little bit of news about AEW Fight Forever on that episode. So even if you're more so a wrestling fan, it's worth checking out. So please go check that out. Other than that, we have our Dynamite show and our Rampage show. These are usually post shows that are done the night of, sometimes a little bit after. Rampage on Friday, tomorrow, we will be doing after Rampage. So check back here at 11 o'clock Eastern. You can follow us down below at our social medias in the description. Other than that, see you guys next time.
Right on. All right. And he still hasn't given you an explanation yet, Natasha. But until next time, top guys.
Yeah,
out.
There's no explanation. There's none.